Hi everyone and welcome to the Movies Summary channel. Today I would like to talk about the movie The Town, a 2010 American crime drama film co-written, directed by, and starring Ben Affleck. Bank robbery became like a trade in Charlestown, passed down from father to son. Four lifelong friends from the neighborhood of Charlestown, Boston, Douglas, Doug, MacRay, James, Jem, Coughlin, Albert, Glonsey, Mac Glone, and Desmond, Des, Eldon, rob a bank. After the courier enters the bank, the four gang members burst through the front doors and overpower him. Doug secures the doors with a cable tie, then grabs assistant branch manager Claire Kesey, Rebecca Hall, and leads her over to the vault at gunpoint. She slowly spins the combination, and the vault is unlocked. While Doug enters the vault and begins loading the money into duffel bags, Day ejects the security tapes and puts them in a wastebasket. He then hauls them down to the break room and puts the tapes in the microwave, destroying them. The crew finish dousing every surface they can find with bleach. Coughlin takes notice of Claire and realizes she will be useful to them. They drive her to a beach near Logan International Airport, and let her out. Doug tells her not to remove her blindfold until she walks forward far enough to feel the surf on her toes. Back in Harvard Square, the crime scene investigation into the bank robbery is underway. FBI Special Agent Adam Frawley, John Hamm, and his partner Dino Ciampa, Titus Welliver, arrive to look at the scene. Frawley is interviewing Claire at his office in 1 Beacon Street about her actions after she was taken hostage. She confirms that the men threatened to rape and kill her if she talked to the police, and took her driver's license. Doug meets with Coughlin, Des and Glonsey at an abandoned hockey rink. Coughlin tells them that they've got a little problem. He produces Claire's driver's license and tells them that she lives in the neighborhood, meaning that there's a chance she'll see them and recognize them. Coughlin proposes that they kill her and offers to take care of it. Doug snatches the license from Coughlin and asserts that he will take care of Claire, since Coughlin is responsible for their predicament and he will face prison time if he tries to intimidate a witness. Doug and Coughlin go to Town Flowers to deliver a cut of the loot to local crime boss Fergie Colm. Following this, the gang goes to Mohegan Sun to gamble the money away. The next day, after sitting through a boring Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, Doug goes to work tailing Claire. He observes her as she leaves her apartment and heads to a local laundromat to wash her laundry. Noticing her starting to cry, Doug sees this as an opportunity to move in, and asks her if she is all right. He flirts with her and offers to buy her a drink. The police begin to narrow in on the gang when they identify Desmond Eldon, who works for Vericom as a systems tech operator. Day has recorded several sick days that coincidentally fell on the same days as a number of recent armed robberies of either banks or armored cars. Frawley and Dino tail Day and take several surveillance photographs of him with Doug, Glonsey and Coughlin at a barbecue. They produce their photos and brief their colleagues on their other 3 suspects. Doug is next seen having lunch with Claire at an outdoor cafe not far from the bank. When Claire excuses herself to use the bathroom, Coughlin shows up to confront Doug. He is still there when Claire gets back, forcing Doug to use his hand to cover Coughlin's neck tattoo and improvise a story. After some tense conversation, Coughlin leaves. Doug confronts Coughlin later for stalking him and Claire. Coughlin defends himself by arguing that Doug is endangering them by sleeping with the one person who could give them to the police. Doug also doesn't like the next planned assignment, an armored car robbery in the North End. Doug doesn't like the fact that there is a guard assigned to the vehicle that acts like he's G.I. Joe. Doug finally agrees to do it, on the condition that this be their last job for a while. Doug next pays a visit to his father at the Cedar Junction Penitentiary. Doug talks about how he wants to leave his criminal life, to which his father advises him, either you got heat or you don't. The next morning, he leads the gang as they carry out a blitz attack on an armored car in the North End. Before leaving their base, they grab some shaved hair from a barber shop. The 4 shower and scrub themselves vigorously, to get rid of any loose skin that could get on their clothes and leave DNA for the police to track them. As they load their weapons, they not only wipe down and polish the weapons themselves, but they also wipe down every single bullet that they load into each clip. Glonsey speeds up, blows through a crosswalk, rounds the corner, and screeches to a halt alongside the armored truck. Even before he has brought the van to a stop, the left passenger door flies open and Doug and Coughlin jump out. The guard on the sidewalk instinctively grabs for his pistol, but Doug disarms him with the barrel of his submachine gun. Meanwhile, Coughlin rushes up and overpowers the guard in the back of the truck, then proceeds to break open the cabinets protecting the money. Doug shoves the bags on the dolly over to the van and begins watching the street for police, while Coughlin loads the money he can grab into a satchel. There is a pause when Glonsey hears the distress call about the robbery going out on his police scanner. He yells this to Doug and Coughlin, indicating that they need to finish up. Coughlin looks up and notices that the truck driver has left his seat. He turns around and sees that the driver has taken Doug hostage and is holding a pistol to his back. Doug urges the driver to calm down and let him go. The driver doesn't move until Coughlin appears with his carbine and fires a burst, hitting the driver in the chest. He survives though, thanks to his bulletproof vest. Doug and Coughlin hurriedly jump into the back of the van with their money and they speed off. As they drive off, Doug tells Glonsey to drive slow and act normal. However, just as they are going around a corner a few blocks away from the scene, Doug looks behind them and sees a police car. Just as he recognizes it, the police car immediately turns on its siren and gives chase. Glonsey punches the gas pedal all the way to the floor, and makes several quick turns, trying to shake off their pursuers, and inadvertently causing a couple of small pileups as other vehicles try to get out of the way. As they are making another right turn at a three-way intersection, a second police car driving on another street notices them, stops, then backs up and turns onto the street they are on right behind the first police car. Glonsey continues to gain speed, trying to outrun the cops. The first police car gains on them, and as they enter a three-way intersection, it proceeds to carry out a pit maneuver. It pulls up alongside the van, and then it forcibly swerves into the side of the van's rear bumper. Glonsey is unable to maintain control, and the van spins around and screeches to a stop. The two police cars come to a halt in front of the van. The officer in the first cruiser gets on his microphone and orders them out of the car. When they don't act right away, he repeats his command. Suddenly, Coughlin raises his carbine and fires a burst through the front windshield. Bullets pound the forward unit and the officer driving the car jumps out, crawling away under heavy gunfire. While Coughlin is firing, they hear more sirens and another police car screeches a stop, cutting them off from the other direction. Doug opens his door, leans across the roof, and opens fire on the police car, riddling its engine block with bullets. The officer in the third police car jumps out, draws his pistol and fires 2 rounds at Doug, before he is forced to take cover. Coughlin and Doug fire further suppressive bursts on the police as Glonsey backs the minivan up past the third police car to another cross street, then makes a hard left turn and speeds off. The second police car to arrive quickly speeds off in hot pursuit. Still being tailed by the other police car, Glonsey makes several tight turns through the narrow streets until he makes a right-hand turn onto Foster Street. Halfway down the block, a stolen Jeep Grand Cherokee driven by Day pulls out of the lot and stops in front of them. Glonsey brakes to a stop, and the police cars chasing them come to a stop behind them. The 3 men in the minivan promptly climb out. The officers simultaneously climb out of their cars, pistols in hand. Before they can shoot, Coughlin raises his rifle and opens fire, riddling their cars with bullets and sending them diving for cover. While Coughlin keeps the police officers pinned down, Doug grabs the money bags and douses the interior of the car with the gasoline jugs. Frawley and Dino are next seen looking at the burned-out remains of the minivan. Frawley is agitated, as there isn't enough evidence at any of the scenes to secure a conviction, so he orders the police to round up the suspects for questioning. The next day, the police round up the 4 men and take them to the police station to be photographed and interrogated. Unfortunately for Frawley, his suspects are much smarter than he thinks they are. Frawley attempts to question Coughlin, who merely says, "Lawyer." Frawley leaves without saying another word. Doug and Glonsey each are told to read some lines from a transcript of a witness statement, to mixed results. Doug mumbles his way through the lines, while Glonsey reads the first few lines before acting like he can't read them. Jem approaches Doug with another job, but he turns it down. He tells Fergie he will not do the job, but Fergie reveals that Doug's mother never left the family. She committed suicide after Fergie got her addicted to drugs in retaliation for Doug's father attempting to also leave, and warns that he will kill Claire if Doug does not do the job. Doug finally agrees. The job starts. Doug and Jem enter Fenway Park dressed as Boston police officers, wearing sunglasses to hide their identities, while Des deactivates the security system. Doug and Jem approach the guards near the cash room and pretend to be responding to a 911 call, then drop pistols on the guards and force them to the ground, zip-tying their hands behind their backs. They then threaten the men in the cash room to get him to let them in. After securing these men, they load $3 million into their duffel bags and head over to their getaway vehicle, an ambulance parked in the garage, where they meet Glownsy and Des and change into paramedic uniforms. Unfortunately, they sense that it is too quiet, look outside, and see that the police are taking up positions outside. When Jem spots an FBI SWAT team in the garage, he opens fire on them. A shootout erupts, and in the process, several SWAT officers in the garage are wounded, and Des is killed when he is deafened by a flash grenade. Doug, Jem and Glownsy cover their ears, and then shot by a SWAT officer. Glownsy offers to sacrifice himself to protect Doug and Jem, gets into the ambulance, and bursts out of the parking garage. The police fire on the van, hitting Glownsy at least twice, and the ambulance crashes into a mobile command center. As the cops move in on the ambulance, Doug and Jem in the garage put on their cop uniforms, blending in with the BPD officers moving in, and they go separate ways. Frawley figures out the ruse when he overhears a police captain talking to Dino about how the robbery was committed by 2 cops. He scans the officers on the scene, then he and Dino drive slowly through the area near Fenway Park, spotting one cop walking away from the action carrying a duffel bag. They realize it is Officer Coughlin. On cue, Coughlin turns around, a Tech 9 automatic in his hand, and opens fire on Frawley. Frawley dives for cover as Coughlin chases him around a parked car, riddling the car with bullets. After pinning Frawley down, Coughlin runs off. Frawley gets to his feet and fires a single blast with his shotgun, before running after Coughlin. Coughlin then yells that he surrenders, and stands up, raising his now emptied Tech 9s. A SWAT officer almost immediately shoots him through the head. As Coughlin's body is blown backwards against a telephone pole, multiple cops proceed to empty their pistols into him, and he falls to the ground, dead. Doug drives the BPD unit over to Fergie's shop. He then seeks out Fergie, who begins shooting at him with a pistol. After an exchange of fire, Fergie falls, badly wounded. He calls Claire and asks her to come away with him, but he is watching from a house nearby and can see the FBI are in the same room with her. Claire, at first, tells him to come to the room to pick her up, then Doug says he will come to the back door in an hour. Claire says she wants to meet him as it will be just like one of her sunny days, a reference to an earlier conversation when she said her brother died on a sunny day, meaning it's a coded message to warn him that the FBI are there. Doug puts on an MBTA bus driver's uniform, makes his way to an Amtrak station, and boards a train heading south. Later, Claire finds a bag buried in a community garden which she tends. The bag contains money, a tangerine and a note that ends with, "I'll see you again, on this side or the other." Claire uses the money to finance the renovation of a local hockey rink, and dedicates it to Doug's mother.